Good morning, Veritas. Today is Tuesday, May 5th, 2020. Here's your assignment for today. So find this in your Google Classroom for May 5th, and we will get started solving these problems right now. Okay, so pause this if you need to take a minute, get yourself some extra paper, and get yourself all set for this one. All right, so number one says, which expression matches the statement, the sum of 2 and 4 subtracted from 9? And then it gives us four options, A, B, C, or D. Okay, so don't let this word expression fool you. Which expression, right? It's telling you that these are expressions. So an expression is just like a math sentence without an equal sign. So these are all expressions. So if you don't know what that is, try to work past it and see what you can solve in this problem, because you don't really need to know what that means. Okay, so which one of these matches the statement, the sum of 2 and 4 subtracted from 9? So the sum of 2 and 4 subtracted from 9. So sum means to add. So we're going to do the sum of 2 and 4. That would be 2 plus 4. And we need to find the sum of them. So we're going to put that in parentheses because we're going to have to add those together first. And here's the tricky part. It's subtracted from 9. You're not subtracting 9. You're subtracting the sum of 2 and 4 from 9. So you are starting with 9, and you are subtracting the sum of 2 plus 4 from the 9. So the 9 is first, and this 2 plus 4 is being subtracted from the 9. So it's being subtracted away from the 9. Okay, so it's 9 minus, and then in parentheses, 2 plus 4. So the answer for this problem is C. Now, the other problems are just a little bit off. The sum of 2 and 4, you're not adding 2 and 9, so this one's not right. The sum of 2 and 4 subtracted from 9, but if you did it this way without any parentheses, then you would do 9 minus 2 first, and then you would do 7 plus 4. So that is the wrong order. Since we got to do the sum of 2 and 4 and subtract that from 9, we first have to do the sum of 2 and 4, which needs to be in parentheses, because the parentheses tells us we're doing that first. Then you're going to subtract that from 9. So that's why B is incorrect, is because there's no parentheses around 2 and 4, so you would end up doing the wrong operation first. Since you have to do the sum of 2 and 4 and then subtract that from 9, you have to have the 2 and the 4 in parentheses and subtract that away from 9. Okay, and D was another tricky one. It's if you got it wrong by subtracted from 9, this took 9 away from it, but it's not being subtracted from 9. If it's being subtracted from 9, then the 9 has to be at the beginning. So C is the answer to number 1. Okay, be careful with these. We're going to get to a bunch more of practice with that because those can be tricky. Okay, but nice job. Give yourself some snaps if you got that right. It's all being very, very careful with the wording of these problems. Okay, number 2, find the product of 487 and 52. So I'm not telling you anymore whether we're multiplying or dividing or adding or subtracting. I'm using these words because these are words you must be able to identify. All right, so product is the answer to a multiplication problem. So you got to learn this word. Product is the answer to a multiplication problem. So we're finding the problem, or the product of 487, and we're multiplying to find the product in 52. So I'm just going to double check to make sure I have the right numbers. 487 multiplied times 52, and we got the same ones here. Okay, so we're going to start in the ones place in the bottom right-hand corner. And right now we're going to ignore the 50. We're just doing 487 times 2. We're going to ignore that 5 for a little bit. We're just going to multiply the 2 times all of these digits. So 2 times 7 is 14. You write the 4 ones and you carry the 10. 2 times 8 is 16, plus the 1 we carried makes 17 tens. Okay, write the 7, carry the 1. And then 2 times 4 is 8, plus the 1 that we carried makes 9. So our first partial product, it's part of our answer to this multiplication problem. Our first partial product is 974. So please find your work and make sure that you have 974. If you don't for your first partial product, then try to figure out where was it that you made your mistake. Then I go ahead and I cross off the ones that we already carried because we already used those. So I'm going to cross them off before I forget. Now what's really important is we're done with the ones place here. We're done with the 2. We're now working on this 5, but it's really 50 because this number is 52. So in order to hold the ones place, we have got to put a 0 in the ones place. And there's my famous smiley face. Just to remind myself that that 0 has to go there. I didn't do any multiplication to get the 0. It has to go there because this is now 50 times 7. And if we didn't put the 0 there, then we would be in the wrong place value. Right? Let me show you. So what we're going to do here is 5 times 7 is 35. But it's really 50 times 7, which is really 350. But what we're going to do is we're going to just do 35. And then you'll see that it's going to end up being 350. See how it's going to end with 50 now because we put that 0 there? If not, we're going to put the 5 in the ones place, and it's supposed to be in the tens place. So that's why we have to put this 0 here, is because now we're on 50 times 7. So it's 350. We carry the 300, and we write the 50. Okay? But all we did here was put the 0, then we do 5 times 7 is 35, write the 5, carry the 3. 5 times 8 is 40, plus the 3 we carried makes 43. So write the 3, carry the 40. Then 5 times 4 is 20, plus the 4 we carried makes 24. And be very careful with your place value here, because that's 24,350 is our second partial product. Both of those are not the answer yet. Those are part of the product. Okay, so we did 487 times 2, and that was 974. Then we did 487 times 50, which got us to 24,350. So what's really important is you have nothing here and nothing here. So be careful when you're adding that you only have 2 partial products or 2 digits in each column here. Okay, now we just add the 2 partial products together, and that'll give us the full product. Okay, 4 plus 0. 7 plus 5 is 12. 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 3 is 13. 4 plus 1 is 5, and then 2 plus 0 is 2. So the answer is 25,324. And that is the product of 487 and 52. 25,324. Check that I wrote the correct numbers. And that is the correct product for 487 times 52. All right, 25,324. Give yourself some snaps if you got that. More importantly, if you didn't get that, pause right here on my work. You need to follow along your steps, right? 2 times 7 is 14. Look at my partial products, 974 plus 24,350. Where did you make your mistake? Because this is challenging, and I always encourage kids in class, like, I can try to help you find your own mistake, but it will be more helpful for you to look real carefully right now that you have the work in front of you and find out where did you make your mistake. Because it might have been a simple multiplication mistake, it might have been a little simple addition mistake, you might have forgot to put the 0 here to hold the ones place, but part of your responsibility right now as a student is to find out where in this multiplication problem, if you made a mistake, where was it? That way, next time, you don't make the same mistake again. All right, and here we go on number 3. You guys are doing a great job. Number 3 says find the quotient of 523 and 4. Write your answer as a mixed number. So, quotient. We've learned sum is addition. Today we don't have difference, but difference is subtraction. Product is multiplication. And quotient is the answer to a division problem. So we are going to be dividing to find the quotient. All right? So that's another word. You have to remember that word. We're going to use it over and over again until we are able to hopefully all remember it. So the quotient of 523, we're going to do 523. We're going to find the quotient of that and 4. So we are dividing 523 divided by 4. So set it up like this. 523, the number being divided is called the dividend. And the number that we are dividing by is 4. That's called the divisor. And the answer we're going to get is called the quotient. And that's what we are solving for. That will be our answer. Okay? So we're dividing 523 by the divisor of 4. Okay? And we got to remember to write our answer as a mixed number. So here, I'm going to draw 4 equal groups. Because what we're doing here is dividing 523 of something into 4 equal groups. And we're going to see how many is going to go into each of those equal groups. Okay, so we have, let's start with 500. If we have 500 and we have 4 groups, we can put 100 into each group. Because we can't put 200 into each group. That would be 2, 4, 6. That would be 800. We only have 500. So we can put 100 in each group. Make sense? So up here in our quotient bar, up here where the quotient goes, you put a 1 in the hundreds place because 100 can go into each group. But now 1 times 400, or 1 times 4 you do is 4. We subtract, we have 100 left. Just like with this, we put 100 into those groups. That's 400. We have 1 more 100 because we have a total of 500. So this is just telling us that we have 1 more 100 left. That's why we subtract. Now we're going to bring down the 2 tens. So since we couldn't put that 100 into any of these groups, we're going to now trade it and we're going to call it 12 tens. Because 100 is 10 tens, plus the 2 more that we have makes 12 tens. So how many tens can we put into each group if we have 12 of them if there are 4 groups? We could put 3 into each group. 3 tens is really 30. Okay, but we put a 3 here in the tens place. Now we multiply. 4 times 3 is 12. So we don't have any tens left. We used all the tens. They equally went into all 4 of those groups. But now we still have 3 ones. And here comes the trouble. You can't put 1, 1, and 1 because then those groups won't be equal. There have to be 4 equal groups. This one will have 131, 131, 131, and this one will only have 130. So division must be equal groups. So we can't do that. So we're actually going to put 0 more into each group. You can't put any ones into these groups or then they won't be equal groups. So we actually have a remainder of 3. There are 3 ones that can't go into these groups. That's what the remainder is telling us, that there's 3 left over. We can't put them into these 3 groups because then they won't be 4 equal groups. So what we're going to do is the remainder becomes the numerator of our fraction, and the divisor, the number we divided by, becomes the denominator. And the answer is 130 and 3/4. If we had 523 of something and we broke it into 4 equal groups, each of those groups would have 130 and 3/4 in them. Okay? We could take those remaining 3 that were left over, right? These are 3 wholes. We can take those 3 and break them into 4 equal groups because there's 4 equal groups. So if we cut them into 4 equal groups, okay, we could put 3 of them, whoops, 1, 2, 3/4 can go into this group. And then I'll use a black pen here. 1, 2, 3/4 can go into this group. And then 1, 2, 3/4, the red ones, can go into this group. And then you'll see we are left with 3 more fourths. 1, 2, 3. And those 3/4 can go into this group. And then all 3 of those remainders were used by putting 3/4 of them into each group. And now all 523 is gone, and we were able to put 3/4 into each group, and now none of it is left. So the answer, if you add these up, is 130 and 3/4. 130 and 3/4, 130 and 3/4, and 130 and 3/4. Each group has 130 and 3/4, so that is our quotient. Okay, give yourself some snaps. If you got that one right, congratulations. That was a tough one. Okay, hope everybody has a great day. Enjoy the sunshine outside. It's beautiful out. We've had a few rainy days, so enjoy. Have a great day.